Hi guys, Martha Ann here. I'm back with some decks that I am using for the summer months ahead. They are all new to me decks. There is one deck that I'm going to actually leave out of this video. It is the Shadowland Tarot. And the reason why I'm leaving it out is I want to do a video entirely about that deck because it stole my heart the moment I received it. And I want to do a little bit more work with it before I make a video. So I'm going to get stuck in straight away. The first deck that I'm going to show you is, it's been out for a while, it's been out for a couple of months. I've seen videos of this the last couple of months and I fell in love with it the moment I saw it. I deliberately waited because some of the artwork concerned me, not because I didn't like it. I actually love all the artwork in it, but it didn't lend itself to tarot systems as such, I felt. But once you start to work with the deck, it falls into place for you. And that is the Hosh Tarot. Now again, I would say that if you are a beginner, I don't know if this would be the deck. I personally don't think it would be the deck that you should choose, purely because of that reason, because of the artwork. But if you do have a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, this would be a lovely companion to kind of see where you can go with the tarot. I would say always just work off a Rider-Waite-Smith initially as you're learning. The box is gorgeous, it's beautiful. Can't remember who makes these actually. Game Systems, I think it is. But the box is really sturdy, so great for storing your deck. The little white book is exactly that. It is a little white book. I normally don't bother with these. I might read them just to get an idea of where the creator is coming from, but then I tend to kind of forget about the white books unless they're more elaborate, and we'll see an example of that later on. The deck itself is stunning. Now, I don't have these in order because I'm actually working with them, so as is, I'm afraid. These are the backs, and I have heard a few people say that they're not really enamoured of the back of the deck. I personally love it. To me, it is so steampunk. I just think it is, oh, it totally appealed to me the moment I saw it, and I'm one of those people who actually likes the back of decks. I like them to suit the deck and the artwork, and this certainly does. It's beautiful and very steampunk, as I said. I don't know why, but it reminds me of that. But the actual artwork itself is really stunning. Now you can see that is the wheel. Very fey energy. Now my light isn't great here today, even though I have some light next to me and everything, but it's very grey today. So you can see that, you know, if you are familiar with tarot, you can see how the artwork, you know, the meanings are there, but if you're not familiar with tarot, it is quite difficult. It's the Three of Cups. Like, for example, that is quite difficult if you were reading this as a newbie, we'll say, to tarot. But if you have a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, I would say go for it, get it. It's lovely to work with a deck that challenges you as you're learning the system. The creator is Jeremy Hosh, and I will admit this is the first time I've ever seen anything from him. Now, this is one of my favourite cards in the whole of the deck, and the reason being, it reminds me so much of some of the stories that I absolutely adore about Irish folklore and Irish myth is all around the Morrigan, and this, for some reason, reminds me of the Morrigan. And when I saw this, I thought, oh, I have to get this deck. There are lots of birds in it, which is probably another reason why it reminds me of the Morrigan. But it's beautiful. The colour is so vivid. And there's something very whimsical about it as well. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's the Hanged Man, which is quite unusual. Another favourite card. Really love that as well. But you could, I mean, there is a real variety of people and animals throughout this deck, and birds in particular. So I was really, really glad to get this. And his use of colour is just gorgeous. Okay, so we leave that one. Oh, actually, there is one card in this deck that I don't mind it. It's a beautiful card, but it seems very, very different to every other card in the deck, and that is the Lover's card, which is very like Hindu, which is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It just is so different to everything else in the deck. I don't know why he chose to do that, or if he even chose to do that. Maybe it was just something that he did. But yeah, it's a beautiful deck. It's lovely to work with. It's very subtle. And I'm just so glad that I actually decided to get it. I mean, I wanted it from the very start, but I did kind of, I was undecided a little bit. So the next deck that I'm using for the summer, this was one that I avoided for a while, but it would not leave me alone. And the reason being is that there is a creepiness to this deck. It just unnerves me. If you remember, some years ago there was a story going around on the internet about black-eyed children. And it completely creeped me out. And when I saw this deck, I really loved it. But it kind of reminded me of that, so I was in two minds. But recently, everywhere I looked, every time I logged onto the internet, for some reason, images of this deck came up. So I thought, okay, it's time to get this. So it is called the Guardian Tarot. That's the little book that comes along with it. And you see what I mean about black-eyed children. Again, it's a little white book, but it's got a little bit more flair, because as you can see, the images are actually in colour, which is beautiful, and it's done really nicely. It's a lovely little white book, and I have to say I did read this. I went through it just to see what the meanings were. The box is stunning. It's really lovely, and it is by Beth Selinon. I don't have my glasses, sorry. But yeah, it's gorgeous. Really lovely. The cardstock is really good. Really good cardstock. I don't worry about being like a riffle shuffler. You know, I shuffle differently all the time. I don't, sometimes I will riffle shuffle, sometimes I'll do like overhand. I don't fuss over that. It's not something I really even concentrate on that much. So some people would say that the cardstock and this is a little bit too thick, but I actually like thicker cardstock. I just feel for the longevity of the deck, it is better, in my opinion. Okay, so these are the backs. Again, stunning, really lovely, and you are not catching the colour as well as you could do, because the light today is just not helping me at all. And these are the images. So as you can see, the colour palette is just, it's very pastel. It's beautiful. This is the Wheel of Fortune. And it is to do with trees, guardians of the trees, which is another reason why I had to get it, because recently we've noticed a problem with one of the trees in our garden. It has decided it's going to just take over everything. and we've been debating whether it's something that needs to go, and it's just heartbreaking when you have to decide whether you're going to cut down a tree or not. We still haven't decided, and this deck kept coming up, so I thought it's okay, it's trying to tell me something. This is the Magician, which I think is a gorgeous card. So as you can see, the colour, it booms out at you. I was thinking of edging it, but I don't know. I'm very undecided on what colour to, like, obviously it would be a blue, but if you didn't get the correct blue, you'd ruin the deck. So I'm going to be working with these all over the summer. This is the Devil. I just really love that card. The Queen of Wands. Again, would it be a beginner's deck? Not too sure. I love the owl and star. Not too sure. You know, it's so long since I started tarot that I'm probably not the best person in the world to ask about tarot for beginners. Well, I suppose I would always say go for a Rider-Waite-Smith deck or go for a Marseille deck. And then you can't go wrong once you have one of those in your collection and you are working with that as well. You can really dip into any other deck then, it's not a problem. But, you know, some of the decks really, the artwork will really drive away from even though the meaning is there, if you're not used to tarot, it can confuse you a little. The World. Justice. The Hermit, my card. I love it. See, there is something quite creepy about them. Strength. Oh, well, you see the Nine of Cups card. This is beautiful. It's a really lovely, lovely deck. Ten of Cups. Well, let's see, can I find... Like, some of the cards aren't creepy at all. They're actually quite beautiful. But then others just... for some reason... But I don't mind that creepiness, you know. I'm fine with that. Queen of Swords. The Nine of Swords. Isn't that beautiful? I love this one, the Hierophant. It's probably one of my favourite Hierophant cards. Because I think the Hierophant is always quite hard to get right. Unless you go the traditional image route. Two of Wands. And this is almost like an oracle deck as well. The Ace of Swords. I'm trying to find something that'd be a little bit... This is the Death card. Which is quite beautiful also. I really, really love this deck. And I'm so glad that I eventually decided I'm going to go with this. Everything about it is so beautiful and made so well. Such care has been put into it. Okay, so I'm going to jump tack a little bit and I'm going to show you an oracle deck that I've chosen to work with for the summer months. And again, this is another deck that's been out quite a while and I waited to see how I felt about it, really. There is a little white book with this, but I don't know what I've done with it, so it's just a little white book. This has got some of the most beautiful images and it's a lovely, easy oracle deck to use with any tarot deck that you have or to use on its own. It's very punchy and to the point. Again, the box is beautiful to store. I store in the box. I would store my decks in the boxes. Obviously, if the boxes are good, if they're not, I just discard them. This is the Sacred Destiny Oracle deck by Denise Lynn. And I had seen this for quite a while, as I said, on the internet, and I just held off. So as I said, these are all new decks to me, but I just held off on this one. But I always knew I was going to get it. These are the backs, which they're lovely. They're so summery. But you could use this all year round. There's no reason why you couldn't. But the artwork is just, I think they're oil paintings, so that's truth. And in this particular one, the border is definitely needed, in my opinion. I personally would not cut the borders off these. The cardstock, again, is glorious, so beautiful. Maybe not easy to riffle shuffle, but again, I'm fine with that. Release. The colours are so vivid. Fulfillment. And it's a nice size as well. I really love this one, Enlightenment. Security. Solitude. Potential. Taking risks. This is beautiful. There are some animals in this deck. Some images of people, but not very intrusive. Success. Action. So you can see what I mean. They're very punchy and to the point. So for clarifiers on a reading, they're actually quite good, or to get the energy around a reading or around a question, is these are really quite good for that. Or to just even pull a card for the day. Wonders. Stillness. Wisdom. The colours are so gorgeous in it. New beginnings. This is beautiful. I'm going to get some of my favourites here. Oh, well, this is just stunning altogether. Purity. This is probably the card that is most shown on in relation to this deck on YouTube, and that's Transformation. And you can see why, because it's a glorious, you know, painting. This is Community. One second now. Oh, beautiful. Freedom. Patience. Change. Oh, I love this. Relaxation. When you see this card, this is one of my favourites. And the paintings are very subtle with the key words. You look at them for a while and you can see, oh, it just has the feeling of the actual keywords. So it's been chosen, the keywords have been chosen and matched to the paintings so well, in my opinion. So that's illumination. Isn't that beautiful? And then you can kind of let your intuition go from there. Look at this leadership. Purification. Oh my God, I love sunflowers. This is one of my favourite cards. It's just so lovely, and the painting really, you know, the keyword and the painting are so well matched. Diligence. How lovely is that? Simplicity. So you can see it's like this one as well, Stand Still. Glorious. So it's really worth, this deck is really worth purchasing, in my opinion. It's a beautiful oracle deck, and it will match. I've used it with several different decks now, and it will definitely match opportunity. You know, it sits nicely with any tarot deck or on its own, as I said. And this is another beauty of a card going forward. I've gotten that quite a bit lately actually. And trust. Now all in all there are 52 cards in the deck. I've shown you quite a few of them there. Well worth it. I am so glad I got that deck. Now the last deck that I am going to do is, I've waited for this deck. I wanted this deck so much. Kelly at A Truth in Story, one of my favourite YouTube channels, she has also done a walkthrough of this deck and it's brilliant. But she also runs every October, I think it is, she does a month of embracing the magical, and it really is about getting decks that kind of bring you into the woods, you know, into the dark side of the year and of yourself. And this deck, although I would use it any time of the year, will be so fantastic for that period of the year. And again, if you know my channel at all, you know that although I love the summer, and the hotter the better as far as I'm concerned, because I love the heat, my favourite time of the year is autumn. It's when I come alive in autumn, and especially here in Ireland, it's beautiful all over the world, I understand that, and we all kind of elevate our own environment more, but autumn in Ireland is just magical, I personally think anyway, and I love it so much. This deck there are a few decks that are like this deck. The Enchanted Forest would be one of them. John Bower, you know, Into the Woods decks. I've other videos on those decks as well. Rackham Tarot would be another one that would be, I'm just looking at my decks over here, that would be perfect for that kind of Into the Woods vibe. But this one is more adult, is the only way that I can kind of explain it. So without further ado, it is the Darkwood, sorry for the light, it's the Darkwood Tarot. It is by Sasha Graham and the art is by Abigail Larson. The box is beautiful, really, really nice, really well done. It's a little magnetic closure. And it just says, dare to enter the dark wood and discover your shadow self with this enchanting Rider-Waite-Smith style deck. As you take on the role of a witch traversing the wood, each magnificent card becomes a vision of deep wisdom that guides you to a richer understanding of yourself. Examine secret desires, shadowy dreams, explore the unknown recesses of your psyche. This captivating deck and full-colour companion book leads you through the darkness and into the light that reflects your hidden talents and personal power. Now, you can see there it is kind of more like where, for example, the Enchanted Forest is very fairy tale. This is quite, it's just got that kind of darker element to it and to the artwork. Now, the book is beautiful. The book is really beautiful. So that's the book. And you're following this witch, or whatever, through her journey through the dark woods. So it is really good quality paper, kind of magazine paper. The images are in, the images are in colour, in full colour. There are spreads, so there, for example, and you get a little, kind of a little blurb there. It says, all the magic of the world resides in you. So that's the magician. So it gives you that little brief sentence about the card, but then of course you can go into it further again. And that's for all the cards. And you can see the imagery is very, it reminds me of the cartoons of the kind of 70s and the 80s. When you had those beautiful kind of Disney cartoons. But it is much darker. So that's the book, and it's a really great read, guys. I love even the you know, her interpretation of the cards is really, you know, she leaves a lot up to your own imagination as well, but it's beautiful. Like, look at this, that's gorgeous. So you can see already what the artwork is like. Now, the cardstock, it's the one thing that I have a little bit of a gripe about. And no, actually, it's one of two things that I have a little bit of a gripe about. I personally would have loved if the deck was slightly larger. We're never satisfied, are we? But I kind of had the impression that the cards were bigger. I don't know why, but in my head I thought they were going to be larger in size. It certainly would have lent itself better to the artwork. The cardstock, yes, I think could be a little bit better. But having said that, if you're a riffle shuffler, it's fantastic. It's amazing. I want to do the edges. I just don't know which. I was thinking a black to go with the backs. You have the dark wood tarot here. I love the backs, by the way. They're beautiful. It's this mossy, dappled green. So I was thinking of either black on the sides or trying to get that green. The only problem is I think it's going to be very hard to get that. So I'm leaving it for a while. And now on to the artwork. Okay. So you can see what I mean by the card size, because when you hold it up like that, it's very deceiving. It looks like it's a lot bigger than what it is, but it's actually like quite small. Like that's I've small hands, guys. I have small hands, and that's kind of what you're talking about in size. So it would be the size of the Enchanted Forest Tarot, and you know it's not smaller than an ordinary tarot size deck. But I just feel that the artwork would have benefited far better from a larger size. Now, it's not enough to bother me too much, to be honest. But this is the artwork. So this is really into the woods, definitely. You can see that there is a border around the card, but it doesn't, the artwork itself bleeds into the borders that are around the deck. I'm actually using this one at the minute, and it reads just, it's like a story. It is like a story. And very Rider-Waite-Smith. I would certainly say that if you're a beginner and you're interested in, I like this one because it's kind of pip style. If you don't want to go for the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, by all means get this. It's fine. Death card is lovely. So you can see it's this character that is going through the woods. I love the Tower card. The Six of Wands. It's really, really beautiful. And it's just a pleasure to work with. It really is a pleasure to work with. Now, I did say earlier on that I had another deck that I wanted to, I was going to initially include in this video, which is the Shadowlands Tarot. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I often pull a card to ask if the deck is okay about me filming it, and at the moment it's not. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you get a feeling from your decks after a while, and I just want to work with it more. I need to work with it more before I make a video on it. But the minute that I opened the Shadowlands Tarot, it buzzed in my hands. I fell in love with it. The artwork, everything about it is beautiful. So I'm going to do a video on that. I just want to work with it a little bit more before I do. Everything about it again as well. The box, the book, everything. And the cardstock is lovely. Okay, so this is the Dark Woods Tarot. See what I mean about the 70s and 80s kind of cartoon artwork, which I really love. I mean, I really love the kind of cartoon work from that era. The Queen of Wands, isn't that beautiful? So it's very witchy. It's a very witchy dark deck, you'll see by what I mean here now. It's a very witchy deck. And there's kind of vampire elements as well through it. Sorry, I'm actually covering the titles. There's the World card. And the Hierophant. Actually, another beautiful Hierophant card. For some reason, I'm sometimes left cold with the Hierophant cards. Some decks do them much better than others, I think. The Star card is lovely, isn't it? So you can see even the artwork in it, it is muted, but that kind of suits the deck, you know. It isn't really saturated colour as such. In some of the cards it is. I love that Three of Cups. In some of the artwork it is, like, it really pops out, like this one for example now. But a lot of the time the palette is kind of very mossy green and light browns, and it just kind of fades into the card. Now, this is the card that actually drove me to buy this deck, because my card is the Hermit card, and I always look for that card in a deck when I'm purchasing a deck. And if that really grabs me, then that deck is going to be on my shelf. This is the Hermit card in this, and I love it. That is every fairy tale you've ever heard. It's so gorgeous and so simple. I mean, it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's very Rider-Waite-Smith as well. Obviously it's a woman, which it's great. But I love it. You know, so you can see how it would be very easy to read with this deck. Even this one, this is Strength. She has the snake in front of her, but she looks very relaxed, very poised. So you can see how it's simple to read if you're new to tarot. The Three of Swords. I love the spider. The Wheel of Fortune. I love the Six of Swords card. It's very strange. She has the baby in the boat, a baby in the boat with her, and there's a woman on the bank who's calling after her. But it's a lovely card. Oh, the Two of Cups. I do really love what they did with the borders, I have to say. If you're going to put a border on a deck, this is how it should be done. The Lover's card. And the borders have their place sometimes, I think. The Three of Wands. The Page of Cups. The High Priestess is really lovely. Justice. Will I go through all of this deck? I think I will. The Two of Swords. The Chariot is perfect. Now, okay, that goes away from the Rider-Waite-Smith picture, we'll say, if you were a beginner, but you can see the meaning, you know. Page of Pentacles. See how muted the colour palette is, but it's lovely. The Seven of Cups is perfect. The Five of Cups. Now this is the picture that's on the front of the book, and it's a beautiful Fool card. I think this was, all of these cards were, even though they're following the Rider-Waite system, they're so well thought out. The Fool. I really love that card. The Moon is beautiful. Not the nicest moon card that I've ever seen, but I'm okay with it. Seven of Swords. The Hanged Man. I love this. This is the Four of Wands. I really love that card. You know, the stability, the safety in the Four of Wands. I think when you feel that you have put all your plans in place and everything is perfect. But look, you know, it still could crumble and there's a troll under the bridge here, but no, things are stable, things are okay. It's really good. 7 of Pentacles. The 9 of Cups, perfect. 4 of Cups. The King of Swords, and he's a perfect King of Swords. The King of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles is beautiful, actually. The 5 of Pentacles. 7 of Wands is just, it's perfect. The 5 of Swords. The 10 of Pentacles. The 9 of Wands. The Queen of Swords. And the King of Wands. So that's it, that's my decks. They're the decks I'm using for over the summer, along with the Shadowlands Tarot, which I will do a video on when the deck is happy to do it. I know that sounds insane, but please, I've just read tarot for so long that you kind of get a feel for your decks after a while. So I'm going to work with that a little bit longer, and then I'll do a video on that, and it'll be well worth it. Just a little update on me. I have finished my first draft on my novel, which was very exciting. At the minute I'm working on editing, but the book itself has wheedled its way into being a trilogy, I think. So although I'm working on the first draft now, I am going to begin the second book as well. I'm thinking that I might even keep the publishing until the second book is finished and then do that. I'll see, I don't know, I haven't made a decision on that yet. But yeah, that's kind of the big news for me at the minute. I hope everything is going well for all of you out there in Tarotland and Writerland, and I will see you next time. Be good and enjoy your tarot decks. Bye bye.